Today on Backyard Bayou, we're taking you full circle. We're going from bait to plate, and it all starts south of the Intercoastal Waterway in Franklin, Louisiana at St. Mary's Seafood and Marina. This truly was one of the most interesting days of filming that we have ever had in the history of the series.
Let's catch up with our grand tour guide for the day. This is Daniel Edgar. Daniel, thank you for having us.
Yes, sir, Jay.
So what is St. Mary's Seafood?
St. Mary's Seafood is basically a distributor, wholesale distributor. We have boats that go out in the morning, they buy bait, gas, all their supplies, fish all day. When they come in, we buy their catch, put it on pallets, wholesale it to distributors. My dad was a commercial fisherman, fur trapper. You know, we lived, born and raised in the swamp, out in the bay in the Gulf, you know, and we fish everything from catfish to crabs, crawfish, shrimp, everything. That's our entire life. You know, and also have a bait company in Abbeville. This company can't survive without bait, so I have my own bait company.
Is that where we're going?
Yes.
We're going to your bait company?
Yes, we're going to go to my bait company,
okay.
Yes, sir. And that's where it all starts. It starts with bait, then the trap, then the harvest, then the transportation, then the restaurant, and then the table. So we're going to
We're going to go full circle.
We're going to go full circle, yes, sir.
As we make our way to LA Seafood, Daniel tells me about their almost 200-foot-long fishing boat. And I'm getting more and more excited because he tells me that the boat just made a drop-off of hundreds of tons of Gulf herring, or what he calls pogie.
This fish is higher in protein, higher in oil, higher in fat than any fish swimming in the Gulf of Mexico.
And what do you use this fish for?
Bait. This is the bait that we use for crawfish, crabs, and catfish. The reason I started this company was there were no more bait companies in Louisiana. Louisiana, 90 to 95% of our bait needs we were buying from Virginia and New Jersey, from the East Coast. The last bait company we had in Louisiana closed down in 2007. And Louisiana, we struggled for bait, fought over bait, little price wars trying to get bait. So you could imagine, like right now, if we ran out of bait, you'd walk in a restaurant and say, I'd like 3 pounds of crawfish. And we say, well, we don't have any because we're out of bait. Every bank, every farm operation, every restaurant, every part of this culture depends on the success of this company, right?
You don't really think about the bait used to catch your food.
Yeah, that's
Whenever
right.
you're looking at the seafood on the plate, you're not really thinking about, okay, well, what got the seafood in the net or on the line in the first
Those
place?
crawfish didn't go in that trap just because they like it in there.
So what you're saying is, no bait, no plate.
No plates. That's right.
This room is one of the most critical parts of the operation here at LA Bait. Once the pogie or the Gulf herring comes off of the bait boat, which is what they use to go out and catch these guys, they're brought here to one of these 2 tanks. This tank here holds 100 tons, 50 on each side of the fish. And this is where they're individually quick frozen. And what that means is that they're put in a brine solution, which is about 22% salt water, that's super chilled down to 10 or 12 degrees. And what happens is because that brine solution will not freeze, the fish will. And because the solution doesn't freeze, they don't turn into big blocks of ice. They are actually frozen individually, which is where IQF comes from. So if we grab one of these guys, and you can tell there's a lot of them, this guy's frozen solid and is going to stay that way until he's pulled out. This guy right here could be catching crabs tomorrow. I think I just got put to work. This is really, really cold. These hoses are pumping the same 10 to 12 degree saltwater brine. There's a reason why these guys are wearing gloves and long sleeves, and I'm not. I'm gonna give this back to you. I'm gonna go warm my hands up because I can't feel my fingers. So Daniel's waiting right now to fulfill a request that I had. Right over here is a spout. I call it the fish shooter. I've got to play with the toy, so we're gonna find out if we can do it. We're here at St. Mary's molting room, and this is where they take the blue crabs that come in, and this is where your soft shell crab will come from. So let's take a look. This is a blue crab right here, right in the middle of molting. You can see it's exiting its shell right here. So here's the old shell. Here's the crab coming out of the shell. You can see the difference in texture. This is really, really soft right here. As soon as this crab exits its shell, it's going to leave it behind. It looks just like a crab. Except there's nobody home. I'll open this up. Nobody's here. This is one that just freshly molted, probably just a couple of minutes ago. And she's probably grown about 30% in size. She's really, really soft. This may look like a basket of crabs. This is actually all the molts that have been pulled out of the water. So there are no crabs in this. These are just the old empty shells.
This is the end result, but once they molt, we let them firm up a little bit where they can physically hold their shape pretty good. And we put them in these coolers, and every couple of days the truck comes. Sometimes he'll come every day. Sometimes if we're doing 100, 200 dozen a day, then the truck comes pretty often. It just depends how much, the type of the season, the time of the year. You know?
And these guys are still alive.
Yeah, they're
So
still
they'll stay alive for a couple days in the cooler?
Yeah, in a cooler like this, they'll stay alive a couple days. And that's why they like them a little firm. See this one, it's a little soft? Watch, touch this one. They took that one out a little too soon. But the restaurants like them just a little bit leathery. They live longer, they hold up better.
And they can't pinch it.
No, they can't bite you. They're too soft. They're soft shells. Can't do it.
As we continue our journey from bait to plate, now it's time to pull some crawfish out of the water. Daniel's taking us to his crawfish farms just outside of Abbeville, Louisiana. And as we turn off of the asphalt and onto the dirt road, we go down these winding trails where we do our very best not to drive into these ponds, which is where we're going to get the crawfish. This is where we find Mitch, and Mitch is going to do his very best to teach me the finer art of crawfish harvesting.
Take it with your left.
Put that one out, put that one down. All right, now I'll grab the other. See?
There we go. Mitch, how long have you been doing this?
All my life. That was 5 years old up here.
Put us over the weight limit, so we're stuck.
Just check it.
Check it with your boots first. Get your boot down there, see if you're staying up. You're deep.
Yeah, this is where I get snake bit.
Just shove it back, Jake. Now is when we need to count.
Oh, now it's over the boots. There we go.
Alligator.
What? Alligator.
Alligator. No, keep going, Jake.
Keep going, you're all right. Ain't no alligator.
There ain't no alligators, I'm just joking. Keep going back, Jake.
Yeah, keep going back. All right. Now push the front in that way.
This way?
Yeah. There you go. Now jump in.
Walk us all the way back.
As I try to dry out my boots, I notice the guys are sorting the crawfish and not the way that I expected. They're not sorting them by size, they're actually sorting them by color.
That's a different species. They're basically a river crawfish. See, there's a male, there's a female. See the male here? He's got more, he's got 4. Us guys just have 1, he's got 4. And here's a female, and you can see the claws. You see how his claws are a lot longer? than hers. The males have a lot longer claws.
Do they taste any different?
It tastes a little different, but if there's Tony Satry seasoning on it, you can't hardly tell. There's no
White
such
crawfish.
thing as a bad crawfish. You know, this is our passion. My son, my family, we love raising crawfish. We love fishing, love being in the swamp. My dad introduced me to the swamp when a little bitty kid, and we've never wanted to leave. Sometimes when your hands are all busted up and you have to tie a string to the bedpost to hold your hand up so you can sleep, because if you put it down, your heart beats hurt your hand. You know, when you're really catching a lot of fish, sometimes you get tired and you just wait for a day when it's pouring down rain or bad weather and you have an excuse to skip a day. But every time you skip a day, you can't make up for that money. It's gone. And you don't know about the hurricanes in the future, lost days or broken motors or problems. It just bothers you to know that, you know, you've got crabs or fish in those nets and you need to be taking them out to catch some more. If you can raise your family, keep them out of trouble, and pay the bills, that's as good as the rich guy can do. No one can do any better, you know.
So it's the end of the day here at St. Mary's Seafood and Marina. We started the day, we found our bait. We spent the day pulling the crawfish from the traps. Well, actually, we spent the day pulling the crawfish from the traps. They spent the day pulling crawfish from the traps, and I spent the day getting in the way. So now we're back here, and it's time to unload the crawfish. Today's haul from this group brought in about 50 or 60 sacks, so they get weighed and pre-graded. Now it's time for us to take the crawfish back to Shreveport, and we're going to show you what we can do with them. Now my favorite part is finally here. It's time for our crawfish boil. We've completed that journey from bait to plate. And even so, it's really easy to take for granted the seafood that this state provides to us. And now I believe we have a really interesting perspective on where it all comes from.
Now, you may think that when you're buying seafood, you may be contributing to a CEO buying his next boat, but even though this CEO is buying his next boat, it's going to be one of these. It's going to be one of these fishing boats, right? No Bahama yachts.
The people that buy Louisiana seafood, they support a lot of families. A lot of families, local people that give their lives in bad weather, rough weather, cold weather, to produce and to supply a real good quality product.
This episode is brought to you by the Louisiana Seafood Promotion and Marketing Board and Louisiana, Feed Your Soul.